Hi guys, it's Thomas here from COTbase.com. Welcome to this week's Commitments of Traders review. Today we're going to have a look at the 47th COT report of this year, and as usual we're going to start off with the changes in commercial positions. So here we go. As you may see, we've got the Chicago wheat on top of a list with 30% changes in commercials and large speculators positions. You can see the change size being larger than average, but nothing too unusual. You can see that we have had many changes this size pretty often actually in the last 52 weeks. On the chart you can see that quite visibly. This change of course is a bearish COT signal that of course could affect prices in the near term. If we open a 5 years chart, let's move on to that. You can see how extreme this market is at the moment. You can see that we're closer to bullish extreme levels. We're not surprised of course to see that when prices are so low. We are waiting for a major change in the trend. Of course, it is difficult to tell when that's going to happen. But one thing's for sure, the stress levels are still high in this market. Even though we're not at all-time extreme levels, you can see that the general picture is definitely pointing upwards. At least that's what the COT report tells us. Moving on to live cattle, where we have a 24% change in commercials positions. Here we go. You can see that here that change size is actually much larger than average. We don't see such changes that often. This again is a bearish signal that could affect prices in the next couple of days. You can see how high live cattle has jumped, and of course small speculators are also very pessimistic right now. At least their change was a pessimistic move. But of course don't forget that in live cattle many commercial participants are there. So it's not exactly the same analysis that we do here in case of livestocks than in other materials. Opening a 5 years chart, here we go. You can see that this market is at the moment in more or less a neutral zone. So we were at a very strong bullish COT extreme level back in the end of 2015. And then we saw a bit of a rise in prices. We thought that that was it for the downtrend that we had in live cattle. But as you can see, this downtrend has continued since. So we have not reached any bearish extremes nor any bullish COT extremes. We're more or less in between the two levels. So it's not that easy to tell what's happening right now. So we may need to go a little bit closer and see relative extremes happening. And of course, if you look at the chart, relatively, you can see that this is a relative bearish extreme. So we haven't had that extreme for quite some time. Well, of course, you can see that it was in case of commercial 70 reports ago, and in case of large speculator 71. So more or less 1.5 year time. Since we had such an extreme level. This is of course a bearish extreme. So we've got a bearish COT change signal, we've got a relative bearish extreme, so we are expecting a bit of a decline happening in the live cattle market. Our next market is going to be Palladium with a 22% change in commercials position, 23 in large speculators. Again, we're talking about a bit larger change than average, but nothing too unusual. This of course again is a bearish COT change signal, but if you look at the chart you can see that last week we had a similar change size without any effect on prices, so caution of course is advised. Opening a 5 years chart, you can see that we are more or less in between the two extremes, maybe a bit closer to bullish extreme levels, and in relative terms not much to talk about. And maybe we have had a bit of a bullish relatively bullish extreme a few reports ago that of course you could see it coincided with this bottom over here. Now of course question is, are we going to reach a bearish a relative bearish extreme? Of course that's going to be a bit harder to tell when it's going to happen. So that's that for Palladium. Let's move on and have a look at large speculators COT Extreme. We've got two markets on top of a list that have all-time COT Extreme in them. And not only in large speculators, but also in commercials positions. Let's start with cotton, where we have all-time COT extreme everywhere, except of course for small speculators. This is a bearish COT extreme, of course, pretty obvious. And you can see that when we had such extremes in the market, they did affect the price of cotton. So again, another market where the COT extreme analysis can be helpful. So we are expecting a bit of a decline. Of course, this extreme may continue and widen before we reach that top. It's just telling you that the extreme is high. We've never seen such an extreme in a COT history of cotton, so that's something you should have your eyes on. Our next market, Russell 2000, all-time COT extreme there. Of course, looking at the chart, we're not surprised to see such an extreme happening. Prices are skyrocketing, and as they do, we have the COT report giving us all-time extremes. This is a bearish one again. Of course, caution is advised. I would say that COT extremes and indexes are not that effective possibly as in other markets. So, but the stress level is measured with it, and it's high. So eventually we are expecting this stress to burst out, and prices, of course, if they do react, then of course they're going to react downwards. Copper is our next market with a 683 report extreme in large speculators. Of course, we have a very similar picture as we had in Russell, but here, as you can see, we are after a downtrend in the market. So we're experiencing this huge bearish extreme after a significant decline in the market. So nevertheless, it's of course a COT signal that we can act on, but caution is advised. Of course, this extreme may be in the market for a couple more weeks before we reach that top that we're expecting. But if you look at the chart, let's just do some analysis. You can see how well these bearish COT extremes signal tops in this market in the past. So I think having this all-time extreme, or sorry, this isn't an all-time, but very significant extreme in copper market. This, of course, tells us that we may act on this in the next couple of weeks sometime. So that is going to be all for this review. Don't forget you can look at other COT charts on our COT charts page. Of course, the COT analysis page that we're on right now gives you the opportunity to go into a more in-depth and detailed COT analysis. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope to see you next time. Have a great week. Take care. Goodbye.